Okay, so here's the first look at Retropie Beta 6. This is for the Orange Pi 5 and the Orange Pi 5B. I don't know if this would work for the Orange Pi 5 Plus. Yeah, they got a lot of boards out there. Welcome back, everyone. My name is kiodiekin, and I've been working on this project now since the inception of February. And for those of you who are new subscribers and just joined the Patreon, thank you for all of your contributions. So this may be the last beta for quite some time. This will be officially going out to Patreons as of right now. When you see this video tonight, you guys will have access to it. The biggest difference between the last version and this one, beta 5, I think I had some issues with that. I still need to upload that video that I kind of went through. There shouldn't be any causes of concerns with this one. I've still been playing around with it and testing it, but in all my testing, I don't want you guys to have to wait for anything else. But pretty much the biggest difference is this one has all the emulators built in. Even when I got this beta, this had all of the emulators already installed. I installed all the emulators and did all the compiling, which took several days of testing and whatnot. So going forward, all the betas you guys will receive will have all the emulators because it takes we were kind of backed up on storage and everything for the most part. But for the most part, the performance and everything still is looking the same as far as Wii and Sega Saturn. You may need to check your ROM sets, make sure you have the most accurate ones for Sega Saturn. I have noticed that there are certain differences. I have like 2 or 3 different ROM sets for Sega Saturn, and some of them work, some of them don't. We're still waiting on Vulkan integration, especially within Retropie. I have a video coming up because I have some concerns. We really need to address it. And one of the things that has caught my attention are the number of fake reviews out there, and I will point them out to you guys. And just to give you a little tidbit about what it is I'm talking about, with the single board computer, it's impossible to know what the single board computer can or cannot do if you don't have developers or there's hardly any development. Getting a single board computer within the first day, first week, first month, and in most cases first 2 months, you can't accurately gauge what it can and cannot do because guess why? There's no support, there's no development. So until you can really put these single board computers into a quote unquote one-on-one situation, like let's say if the Raspberry Pi and Odroid has 100,000 applications or programs, and then those programs can then run on the Orange Pi 5B, Banana Pi, or Rock Pi. Of course, then and only then will you be able to find out if it's comparable or even exceeds that. Now, let's say or suppose there's 100,000 apps for Raspberry Pi or Odroid or something, and then you get it for the Orange Pi, and only 10 of them work, or 50 or 100. You can kind of see that it's not really a one-on-one comparison. And so what I'm saying is a lot of reviewers posting benchmark tests of these kind of single board computers running things from a desktop environment, and it's not a gaming front end, and there's a drastic difference between, let's say, Retropie, CoinOps, or Batacera, because the performance is much different. There's a performance loss there, and so you as the viewer or the buyer should know that what you would typically see from a desktop scenario is not exactly what you would get from an actual gaming interface like Retropie. So I'm not going to go fully into that tonight, but I will tell you that there's plenty of reviews out there, and none of these channels that I've noticed have actually done the actual development. They take somebody else's work and then talk about it and then go from there, which is why here we are in June. You guys know I've had this thing now since end of January, into February. It's be very difficult to do a full review and say, hey, like this is a Pi killer or it's not or whatnot, because it's still in the development phase. It is still being developed. You won't know what this thing can really do until about a good year into development, depending upon how many people jump on board and certain things are integrated. So I'll leave that there for you guys because that's definitely going to be a hot one. But at any rate, so this is the Supreme Beta Orange Pi 5 base. It's pretty much good to go. In order to get this as of right now, you would need to be a Patreon subscriber. This is going out to all tiers, and then of course we do have a new server now for server access for that particular tier. And officially for a public release, this will come out probably mid-July, I want to say. But you know, we've man, I tell you, I've spent a lot of hours on the seed box, and I may do some tutorials on that, but I'm really glad that we were able to get some things going here. I know a lot of you are looking for a cheaper alternative to the Pi 4 because we're still waiting for the Pi 5. So I think the Orange Pi 5 Plus may be a little cheaper. I have to double check it. I know I was looking at it when I also don't have any of that information in front of me, and I went out and saw Transformers tonight. It was pretty cool. But anyway, you guys get the point. So I'll keep you guys updated because I'm going to give you some accurate information and just don't want to spew anything. But this image will run about, let's double check here. I think this image size is, and I'm using an SD card for this. You can boot this from an SSD or USB, but there's some files you need to change. Again, you don't want to overclock this. I've been advised by the instruction manual, and what's on the chip itself is not to overclock. So you definitely want to stay away from there. I mean, if you want to overclock it and everything, you know, be my guest. But let me pull up the actual file size of the Orange Pi 5B. Let's see, I think it is going to be, I think it's like 30 gigs, 30 gigabytes, which is, you know, much, you know, which is reasonable, you know, for right now. Actually, no, it's 2 gigabytes. Okay, so that's just the emulators and stuff. So it's 2 gigabytes. So it'll be fairly easy to transfer over. I will post the link tonight, and you guys could go ahead and enjoy this. I haven't put any themes or anything on this one. You know, I'm not, you know, normally you guys know when I put out an image or something that's like a big showcase and stuff, we're still tinkering around with this. And so this is just kind of let you guys play around with it, and then, you know, get used to it. And then maybe in a few more weeks, there'll be maybe a big release and stuff where I kind of check everything. But I think now, for the most part, most of you who follow the channel, even new, you guys could watch some of the previous videos on learning how to install a lot of things. And so some of that may not be, you know, required. You know, I do have some ROM sets here and kind of check a few things just to make sure you guys have a good starting point. But the only problem is I've just spent a lot of time uploading, and I don't want to make this image size any bigger than I need to. If you guys could just kind of just jump on the ball, use your ROM sets, and then kind of go from there. So I will be posting quite a few videos this week. Got fireworks season and some other things going on. It has really been a blast. But, you know, for the most part, this is a Tinker device. I still need to check this thing out with Glenn's thing as far as the LCD monitor. I do have the cable for that. But the Orange Pi 5 definitely has some good power. I definitely expect some performance increases if we can get some Vulkan drivers to work. And I know some of you others out there in the community have been testing Retropie and playing around with the Supreme base, seeing what else you could do with it. But again, we still need to get Vulkan drivers. Even as of right now, you guys have never seen the Orange Pi 5 do what it can do in a perfected environment, because it still needs support. Even as much as somebody may want to either recommend it or talk against it or say, hey, it needs this or that, you just haven't seen it because it's not there yet. Remember, it's a Tinker board. It is not a computer. It's not an Intel. It's not Mac. You know, you get these boards, you tinker with it, you make it happen and do whatever it is you need to do with it. And again, primarily, I'm speaking about more or less from the gaming perspective. So you guys will get this 2 gigabytes uploaded right now. I will release the link on Patreon. This will go live for public use about mid-July or so. And please keep in mind, I have several Facebook groups that if you guys want to reach out to this, and if you have questions, for the most part, try to leave some of those questions in groups I'm affiliated with, as far as Supreme Retropie, Retropie Official, and then of course you also have my hobby group. But if you guys want a faster answer, it's better Supreme Retropie or Retropie Official, because that way there's more users, you know, cater to that particular hobby and that particular thing. That way anybody can answer your question. If you ask me in another group and, you know, I'm not paying attention, then you'll probably not get any help. for the most part, and, you know, because you gotta have it, you gotta be familiar with all this kind of stuff. But this is just very familiar with work with RetroPie. Keep in mind, this is not a official build. This is unofficial. We made it work ourselves, going back to February when you guys saw the videos. But you know, we do this for the love of it. We do it for the hobby. It's fun. I also can confirm that light guns do work for this. I know the send-in works. I don't know if the AE or whatever. I think that's probably a driver issue, whatever the case might be. But it should work. I don't see any problems why. We really haven't gotten there because we've been doing a lot of testing just with emulators and making sure the emulators compile and install and, you know, do all that other kind of stuff. So, and then again, I may do a tutorial showing you guys how to install Kodi, because I believe some of you were looking for Orange Pi 5 Kodi, and my first RetroPie Orange Pi 5 build does have Kodi on there. You just have to install it. But for whatever reason, I know now Armbian doesn't support Kodi. I've tried to compile it, just doesn't work. So, but the previous version that I do have, that I believe it was Debian, does support the Kodi installer. So if you guys are looking for an all-in-one media player, even though it is RetroPie, you can watch movies and stuff like that. So I may do a tutorial on that. But for the most part, this is running pretty good. We've cut down on the boot time. I think the boot time now is probably about 2 seconds. You can launch Wii games directly from the RetroPie interface. Still a little laggy in some cases, you know, a little choppy here and there, but I will say it's probably about 85% as far as performance. Daphne Singe Hephaestus works. The last image that I put out, which was like, what, 120 gigabytes or whatever, so there has a lot of Daphne games on that. So I'm not loading that on this right now because that's why you guys can get the smaller file size. But it runs pretty good. You know, right now, the other thing is we still need some, I don't like the way Flycast runs on this. So even though this does have an 8-core processor, which is much more powerful, or twice as powerful as the Pi 4, even though it's more powerful than the Pi 4, there's still a performance issue because of the emulator. So I will have another separate video on that explaining the difference between having a better processor than as opposed to having an optimized. With that being said, guys, I will catch you later. Have a good night. I'll leave links in the description below. Check the Patreon, check my Facebook group. Please leave a question if you guys have answers for that. And also remember that other Supreme teams, Patreon and also YouTube group, or I'm sorry, not the YouTube group, the YouTube page is not affiliated with this. I mentioned that a few months ago, a few weeks ago. Just definitely want to reiterate that. So if you want, well, just follow me stuff. You guys, have my Facebook group, Paradise, RetroPie Official, Supreme RetroPie. Guys that are looking for me, looking for work, stuff like that, you call those. Anything else? Just kind of Supreme Team. We have a few other groups that I do know, but I'm hardly there. Again, you guys all have a great night. I will catch you later. Peace out.